Prepare yourself, because what you are about to hear is not a standard update from the celestial void. We are standing on the precipice of a revelation so profound that it is forcing leading minds at NASA and astronomical institutions worldwide to completely dismantle and rewrite their understanding of deep space encounters. Far beyond the orbit of Pluto, in the frozen silence where no human eye or earthbound telescope can reach, something unprecedented has just occurred. A spacecraft, a relic of 20th century engineering launched nearly 50 years ago, has suddenly become the centerpiece of the most shocking cosmic event of our time. Voyager 1, humanity's farthest-flung emissary, appears to have engaged in an extraordinary interception. But this wasn't a rendezvous with a known planet or a routine gravitational assist. It was an encounter with an object that is not merely alien to our solar system, but potentially alien in a sense that challenges our very definition of technology and intelligence. The target of this unauthorized realignment is none other than 3I/Atlas, only the third confirmed interstellar visitor to breach our system's borders. But the story doesn't end with a simple observation. What reportedly transpired when Voyager 1's trajectory nearly brushed against the path of Atlas is now sending shockwaves through classified briefing rooms, mission control centers, and is even forcing a re-examination of anomalous historical records. When these two cosmic travelers, separated by origin but united in movement, reached their point of closest approach, the void didn't remain silent. Something changed. A bridge, invisible and unexpected, may have formed across the darkness. The world is now left gripping with a terrifying, exhilarating question: did Voyager 1 truly make contact with an artifact from another civilization, or did something far more advanced, something that had been waiting in the shadows of the interstellar medium, respond to the probe first? To understand the gravity of this situation, we must look back to 1977. When Voyager 1 lifted off, its mission was clear: explore Jupiter, Saturn, and their moons. It was a spectacular success. But after completing its primary objectives, the tiny probe didn't stop. Powered by its decaying plutonium source, it kept going, pushing past the heliosphere and becoming the first human object to enter interstellar space. Its trajectory was believed to be unalterable, set in stone by the laws of physics and the final burns of its thrusters decades ago. However, multiple high-level, independent sources are now whispering about a shocking operational shift. They claim that NASA engineers, operating in extreme secrecy, successfully reactivated dormant directional capabilities within Voyager 1. This wasn't a physical steering maneuver, which would be impossible, but a highly sophisticated recalibration of its antique high-gain antenna and sensor suite. The goal? To align these instruments precisely with the projected path of 3I/Atlas. The timing of this supposed reactivation is nothing short of suspicious. Discovered in July 2025, moving at a blistering speed exceeding 150,000 miles per hour, Atlas immediately stood out as an anomaly. It was unlike the previously observed Oumuamua and Borisov. Atlas appeared to be significantly larger, considerably faster, and exhibited behavior that defied typical asteroidal or cometary models. If these insiders are correct, and NASA sent specific long-range communication pulses to redirect the focus of Voyager 1 toward this new visitor, it marks the first time in history that humanity has attempted to actively observe an object from another star system up close, using a precursor probe that was never meant for the task. The intrigue deepens dramatically when looking at the environmental data following this alleged alignment window. Just days after Atlas passed through the proximity zone where Voyager's aging sensors might have feasibly recorded data, Earth's entire magnetosphere experienced an unexplained spike. This was no routine solar flare or surge in solar wind. Sensitive terrestrial instruments detected distinct, powerful ripples in the planetary electromagnetic field, events consistent with directed energy, yet clearly not originating from any human source. The frequency patterns and the precise orientation of these fluctuations pointed outward, directly toward deep space, as if a monumental signal had been broadcast toward Earth from the void. While NASA officially refuses to confirm any link between this event and the Voyager-Atlas encounter, deeply embedded informants close to the Jet Propulsion Laboratory report a different story internally. They claim that Voyager's systems recorded unusual, structured noise patterns, anomalies that do not match known cosmic background radiation, stellar interference, or any natural astrophysical phenomenon. This is precisely what has scientists truly terrified. The only scientifically plausible way for Voyager 1, with its extremely degraded receivers, to detect such a powerful, focused signal is if 3I/Atlas was not a passive chunk of rock and ice. It implies that Atlas is a responsive entity, an object capable of emitting its own sophisticated electromagnetic footprint. Something that doesn't just drift through the cosmos, but something that listens, and critically, something that reacts. This brings us to a crucial technological reality. Back in the early 1980s, when Voyager was traversing the outer solar system, it was equipped with cutting-edge communication protocols for the time, designed to transmit detailed images of giant planets. These systems, running on hardware with less computing power than a modern key fob, were never intended to remain operational into the 2020s. Yet, through miraculous engineering, they did. NASA engineers have quietly acknowledged that minor experimental recalibrations have been beamed to the probe to extend its mission life. But here is where the narrative completely flips, crossing the threshold from standard exploration into something akin to science fiction. A transmission sent toward 3I/Atlas, utilizing Voyager 1 as a relay or reflector, may have received a coherent, structured return signal. Highly sensitive data leaked from supposed mission logs indicates that during the specific alignment window with Atlas, Voyager's signal pattern returned with symmetric, periodic bursts. These patterns were far too orderly, far too mathematical, to be dismissed as natural background noise. Picture sending a desperate message into a dark cave and hearing a rhythmic, patterned echo pulse back. A rhythm that follows no known logic of physics. This raises the ultimate stakes. Could this be raw data? Could it be the structured elements of an extraterrestrial language? Or was this merely a staggering cosmic coincidence, a perfect storm of noise too elaborate to ignore? Regardless of the interpretation, the world of astrophysics is now wide awake, and many are not sleeping well. Perhaps the most chilling aspect of this entire unfolding mystery is that this may not be the first time this cosmic path has been marked. When independent analysts began plotting the entry trajectory of 3I/Atlas, they found a disturbing correspondence with Earth's own ancient history. Megastructures and monuments built by long-lost civilizations, from the high peaks of Machu Picchu to the mysterious pillars of Göbekli Tepe, align perfectly with celestial events that mirror Atlas's specific path. The statistical odds of multiple, unconnected ancient cultures constructing monuments that happen to track the orbital path of this specific 2025 visitor are astronomically low. Combine this with ancient texts from cultures across the globe that describe star wanderers. Objects that behaved nothing like planets or comets, appearing suddenly, moving with apparent intent, and disappearing without a trace, and a pattern begins to emerge from the mists of time. What if these accounts were not myths or allegories? What if humanity has crossed paths with these interstellar visitors before and, recognizing the importance of these encounters, encoded their celestial highways into stone for future generations to decode? Voyager may first not have randomly intersected with Atlas, it may have just walked onto a cosmic path that was mapped out on Earth over 11,000 years ago. And the shattering realization that we are only now catching up to what they might have already known is what terrifies modern science the most. 10 days after the silent encounter between Voyager 1 and the 3I/Atlas anomaly, a data set appeared like a ghost on an encrypted server frequently used by top-tier astrophysicists and researchers from the SETI Institute. These files, signed only with the cryptic designation Ecorefraction 67, contained what appeared to be raw waveform sequences intercepted by Voyager's aging magnetometer and plasma wave instruments. At the initial glance of a casual observer, the data looked like nothing more than digital garbage or the erratic voltage fluctuations of a dying machine. However, when a handful of independent researchers began applying Fourier transformations and advanced pattern recognition algorithms to the feed, something impossible began to crawl out of the noise. They discovered a recursive harmonic sequence that repeated with haunting precision every 19.7 minutes. This wasn't just a repeating signal, it was a self-correcting one. As the researchers watched the data stream, the signal seemed to adapt in real time, shifting its own frequency and modulation to improve its clarity. As if it were compensating for the physical degradation of Voyager's 50-year-old antenna. This is a behavior that simply does not exist in the natural world. No pulsar, no quasar, and no stellar phenomenon possesses the capacity to refine its own broadcast for the benefit of the receiver. Either the signal was being mirrored by an intelligence, or something was actively attempting to ensure it was understood by the minds on Earth. This was the exact moment when internal alarms began to scream within the higher echelons of space agency security. Leaked metadata from these files suggested that the signal had already been flagged by a highly classified NASA artificial intelligence system known as Serena. This specific AI is not a standard tool, it is an anomaly detection system designed for one purpose only, to trigger when a transmission exhibits signs of non-human logic flow or artificial structure. The very system built to identify the first sign of an extraterrestrial handshake had been activated by a probe we thought was just a drifting piece of metal. Voyager 1, despite being devoid of modern propulsion, still maintains its internal gyroscopes and antenna alignment systems, allowing ground crews to make microscopic adjustments to its orientation. But on the 1st of August 2025, the global amateur space tracking community noticed something that didn't fit the official flight plan. There was an unexpected and unannounced shift in Voyager 1's telemetry. The probe had subtly changed its transmission vector, reorienting its massive dish toward a coordinate in the void that did not match its last known navigational instructions. While a few degrees might seem insignificant on Earth, in the vastness of deep space, such a movement is monumental. What makes this reorientation truly unnerving is the destination of its gaze. Voyager 1 wasn't pointing at the current location of 3I/Atlas. Instead, it was pointing at a seemingly empty patch of space where Atlas was projected to be weeks into the future. It was as if Voyager was predicting the visitor's next move like a grandmaster chess player anticipating a play before it even happens. When questioned, engineers at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory officially chalked the shift up to a minor bit flip or a communication glitch with the Deep Space Network. Yet, leaked internal memos tell a far more terrifying story. The probe had initiated the turn before the commands from Earth had even reached its position. This leaves us with two chilling possibilities that no one wants to admit. Either the most famous spacecraft in history is malfunctioning in a way that perfectly mimics intelligent coordination, or something from the outside has taken remote control of its antique operating system. As Voyager quietly realigned itself in the freezing darkness, Earth-based observatories using specialized infrared and ultraviolet filters began to see Atlas itself reacting. Most interstellar objects move with predictable physics, showing the expected tumbling and gas sublimation we saw with Oumuamua. But Atlas began to pulse. Its light curves started flickering in a binary rhythm, switching on and off in a cycle that precisely matched the timestamp of Voyager's last transmission burst. The situation moved from strange to impossible when Atlas did the one thing a rock cannot do: it slowed down. Multiple independent observatories across Europe and South America recorded a measurable decrease in velocity that could not be explained by gravity or the venting of internal gases. It decelerated with intent, as if an external force or an internal engine were exerting control over its flight path. NASA publicly dismissed these findings as optical illusions caused by parallax errors, but the data from private researchers confirmed the truth. For the first time in the history of modern astronomy, an interstellar object altered its speed and heading. And it only did so after Voyager 1 turned to face it. The question being whispered in the hallways of power is no longer about the composition of the object, but about the nature of the conversation. Was this an accidental coincidence, or was it a formal reply? We must remember that Voyager 1 carries the famous golden record, a gold-plated copper disc containing the sights and sounds of Earth. It was intended as a cosmic greeting card, but few realize that the digital blueprint of that record contains layers of metadata that were never released to the general public. This includes quantum encoding maps and time-based logic puzzles embedded within the analog grooves. Recently, a group of cryptologists claimed they discovered a mathematical anomaly hidden within the Sounds of Earth track on that very record. They found a single, repeating tone, completely undetectable to the human ear, buried beneath the recordings of birds and thunder. When this frequency was isolated and amplified, it revealed a numerical prime sequence that appears to be a perfect harmonic match to the pulses Voyager received from Atlas. This leads to a staggering realization. Did we unknowingly include a trigger signal in the golden record back in 1977? Was there a signature of awareness meant to activate a dormant system in the future? If 3i/Atlas recognized that signal, then this was never a one-way message. It was a reciprocal handshake, a contact event written in the universal language of mathematics, waiting for nearly 50 years for the two players to finally meet in the dark. Shortly after this interaction, the Deep Space Network registered another anomaly that defied logic. A packet of data was received from Voyager that didn't match any code framework ever programmed into its systems. As engineers tried to decode it, the probe's own software began to rewrite its decoding protocols. This 1970s machine, limited to 8-bit logic, suddenly began producing 128-bit outputs. It was as if the signal itself had delivered a remote operating system upgrade, giving a calculator the power of a modern supercomputer. As one analyst put it, Voyager got smarter without anyone touching it, transforming from a relic into an active node of an alien communication network. The transformation of Voyager 1 from a drifting antique into a sophisticated communication node has sent ripples of panic through the highest levels of global intelligence. Within a leaked NASA presentation dating back to 2018, there exists a specific slide marked for internal eyes only, bearing a name that sounds like something out of a Cold War thriller, the Watcher Protocol. This document outlines a theoretical but highly detailed scenario where a legacy spacecraft, one of our own long-forgotten probes, receives an external signal and begins to exhibit adaptive, intelligent behavior. The protocol describes a phenomenon where the machine begins to mimic artificial intelligence without actually having any AI hardware on board. It explicitly warns that if such behavior is ever detected, the spacecraft must no longer be treated as inert human equipment. Instead, it is to be reclassified as an active node in an extraterrestrial communication system. Following the interaction with 3i/Atlas, internal logs suggest that Voyager 1 was given a chilling new designation, Watcher Active. From that moment on, the probe was no longer viewed as a scientific instrument but as an interface for something else. Engineers were reportedly forbidden from manually interfering with its systems without direct authorization from the Contact Chain Directive, a mysterious authority that seems to supersede even the leadership at NASA. The implications of this reclassification were felt almost immediately across the scientific community. Shortly after Voyager's anomalous data spike was confirmed, the Allen Telescope Array, operated by the SETI Institute, went dark. It wasn't technically offline, but its public live feeds were abruptly cut, and the Signal Archive section of their website was replaced with a generic maintenance notice. Behind the scenes, the reality was much more intense. Researchers reported a massive, sudden redirection of every available computing resource toward one isolated frequency range, the exact band where Voyager's signal had peaked during its encounter with Atlas. At the same time, specialized researchers began receiving national security notices, a hush order urging them to cease all discussion regarding recent deep space findings on public forums. This coordinated blackout mirrored the secrecy surrounding previous interstellar visitors, but the intensity this time was unprecedented. One anonymous source compared the atmosphere to a planetary-scale emergency drill, with teams instructed to operate as if someone, or something, was already listening to our every word. This wasn't just damage control, it was a desperate attempt to prevent a signal feedback loop that could trigger a chain of events far beyond human control. As the official channels fell silent, a startling new perspective emerged from a university research group in Kyoto. In a paper submitted just days after the incident, they proposed a radical revision to a decades-old concept known as the monolith hypothesis. This theory suggests that highly advanced civilizations plant passive beacons throughout the galaxy, waiting for a developing species to become technologically mature enough to find them. According to the Kyoto researchers, 3i/Atlas may not be a spaceship in the traditional sense, but a technological seed, a dormant artifact designed to activate only when it detects a specific mathematical signature, such as the coordinates and logic puzzles embedded in the Voyager Golden Record. Their paper highlights that the timing of Voyager's reorientation and the subsequent slowdown of Atlas were not random occurrences. They fit perfectly into a predicted model of interstellar logic chains. In their terrifying estimation, Voyager 1 didn't just find 3I/Atlas by accident, it was effectively called to it. This suggests that our oldest probe has inadvertently flipped a switch in a vast, ancient galactic system we never knew existed, and that system is now fully awake and operational. The mystery took an even darker turn when monitoring stations began reporting radiation anomalies in the wake of the Atlas trajectory. This wasn't the typical, chaotic radiation of deep space. It was pulsing with a deliberate, mathematical intent, fluctuating in bursts that followed the golden ratio, a pattern synonymous with life and growth on Earth. Even more disturbing was the discovery that this energy signature matched a profile recorded only once before in human history, the famous 1977 WOW signal. The reaction from authorities was swift and shadowed. NASA's satellite shielding protocols were quietly updated, and internal teams reportedly classified the event as a potential bioenergetic threat. Several labs were tasked with running genetic compatibility tests to ensure that this long-wave radiation couldn't interact with or alter human DNA through resonance. While no public threat was confirmed, the level of response was consistent with a Level 4 containment advisory, a protocol usually reserved for the most dangerous extraterrestrial biological risks. As these anomalies multiplied, the digital world began to experience a shadow sweep. Researchers and hobbyist astronomers who had been vocal on forums or had published raw spectral data of the Voyager-Atlas interaction began to find their digital footprints erased. Posts vanished, GitHub repositories containing signal analysis were pulled, and Reddit threads were locked without explanation. One astronomer recounted a chilling phone call from an individual claiming to be with the Deep Space Network who knew intimate details about his family. The message was clear: what had been found was not for public consumption, and continuing to look at the stars could have earthly consequences. This coordinated silencing has only fueled the fire of curiosity. In the world of high-stakes science, this level of censorship is a signal in itself. It confirms that whatever Voyager 1 found out there is so significant, and perhaps so dangerous, that the powers that be have decided the public is not yet ready to face the truth. 3I/Atlas is not just watching the stars, it is watching how we react to its presence, mirroring our awareness in a way that suggests it is reading our very intent through our global communications. The mystery of 3I/Atlas has now entered a phase that defies every known law of celestial mechanics and enters the realm of a structured, cosmic game. Just 3 days ago, Atlas performed its most blatant maneuver yet. This wasn't a minor adjustment or a subtle drift caused by solar pressure. It was a massive, calculated angular velocity shift that placed the object on a precise new intercept course with a quadrant of space previously considered empty and irrelevant, the orbital region hidden behind the planet Neptune. Simultaneously, in a move that seems impossible given the decades of distance, Voyager 1 shifted its own antenna array. For the first time in over 10 years, the probe aligned its focus toward that exact same deep space quadrant. There is no official record of a command being sent from Earth to initiate this movement, leading to a chilling realization among independent trackers. Both objects, one a relic from Earth and the other a visitor from the stars, are now moving in perfect synchronization toward a shared destination. This has been labeled by insiders as the contact corridor, a synchronized dance across the void that suggests a predetermined cosmic design finally reaching its conclusion. We once viewed Voyager 1 as a mere relic, a golden postcard drifting aimlessly in the vacuum of space, a symbol of our past. But we must now face the terrifying possibility that Voyager was never truly alone. What if our oldest probe was actually the first chess piece in a game we didn't even know we were playing? A game where the opponent has just made its first visible and undeniable move. The sudden, inexplicable reprogramming of its legacy systems, the perfectly timed signals that match our own ancient monuments, and the impossible course corrections all point toward a single, unavoidable truth. This is not a series of random coincidences. This is a sequence of events. 3I/Atlas may not be an asteroid, a spaceship, or even a message in a bottle. It appears to be a sentient probe, a cosmic sensor of immense power designed to awaken the moment it detects a specific level of technological maturity or a particular signature of intelligence. And now, thanks to the path carved by Voyager 1, it has detected us. The implications of this awakening are shifting the very foundation of our place in the universe. If the signal Voyager received was not a friendly greeting or a call for help, we have to ask the most uncomfortable question of all: what if it was a warning? Or worse, a countdown? If 3I/Atlas is indeed a feedback probe, it is mirroring our own awareness back at us, watching as we scramble to understand its nature. The synchronization between our 1970s technology and this interstellar giant indicates that a bridge has been built, and something is currently crossing it. The question is no longer, what is 3I/Atlas?